Paramount Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this morning? Good. We're talking about flexibility this morning, which is good because we are being flexible with our sound system today. I'm Reverend Tracy and delighted to have you here as part of this community of love and support and fellowship. Whether you're here in the room or online, everybody wave. We are streaming this morning. What I know is that we come together in consciousness and in love. And when we do that, everybody wins. So thank you all for being here on this gorgeous day. So playing with me on platform this morning, our practitioner of the day is the beautiful Patty Powers. And if you know Patty, you know she loves October. So make sure you appreciate the black lace that is floating around today. And our music this morning is our very own Reverend Drac. So let's begin as we always do by being centered. I'm going to invite you to take a moment, take a breath, turn off your phones. Allow yourself to become present. If you're comfortable, close your eyes and let the sound of the bowl take you within. For it is in that inner space of the heart, that place where we know love, that we begin today. And it is in this sanctuary of the heart where we remember the greater truth of our being, that all that we are is love.
And in this we, that is love, we each add our essence to this room, to this service, to this day. Where we know that all really is love, and that's all we need. And so let's just linger on that feeling of love for just a minute. And so in this feeling, in this lingering, in this love, we know that this service is blessed. We know that each other are blessed. We bless our music. We bless every part of this service today. And so with a grateful heart, let us begin. Perfect. That was perfect. Thank you, Jack. So today, instead of a reading, I'm going to tell a story. And this morning, I started receiving text messages from a girl who is the granddaughter of a previous minister here. And she lives in Morganton, North Carolina. So right now her house is underwater. I have a picture of it. It's really kind of devastating. She is asking for a couple things. One is prayer. And so we will all know that she gets to move back into her house. The house in front of her and behind her have both been condemned, but hers is not yet. And she is living in her car with her 8 and 10-year-old daughters. And the things that I told him this morning, I said that's, she was saying how proud she was of her 10-year-old going around because they've been helping the Red Cross hand out water and food to people that can't be reached because little kids can climb on things, over things, around things. And she was saying how proud she was that her daughters are helping in this effort to take things to people. And so I told her, well, it's good, even it's good that you're living in your car because they will learn service to others. What else did I say? That's a lot of talking. But I said they will learn service to others. They will learn creative survival. They will learn that they can get through anything. They can get through this, right? They will learn to ask for help and let others help you. Because in asking for help and letting other people help you, you let them learn the lessons of service and the lessons of helping. And I said, and the most important one, which I'm still learning, is how to get back up after you get knocked down. Because sometimes that's the hardest lesson of all, just to hang in there and pick yourself up. What my grandma used to say, like, by your bootstraps. And so that's my contribution to the story. I have a Cash App address of $KALIGIRL 1972, or you can ask me for it later, or you can give me money and I'll send it to her. If you're interested, let me know. For those of you online, you can always email me. My email is on the church's website, and I'm Patty Powers. And Drac, could we have a little more of your beautiful music?
So this piece I'm about to play, I actually composed for last month's service. Is this a little loud? Yes. Okay. If I hold it down there, do we sound about normal?
Lower.
Even lower. That's so rare for me. Usually it's, I can't hear you, even with the mic. A little bit. How's that? Okay. And I may ask for feedback on how loud the piano is before I start too, just to make sure. But what I was going to say is that this piece was inspired. Yep, that's why I'm moving. So this piece was inspired by the process I went through in a recent divorce. And I know now why Spirit said this is going to be happening next month, because we're talking about the willow and the taproot into the spiritual understanding of life, even when adversity is what it is. So, thank you, Graham. So that's really what inspired this piece, because during this process that I went through recently, I kept tapping into my spiritual understanding through journaling, speaking with people that I knew could hold a higher consciousness about it, and as a result of that, came through pretty okay. So this piece is really dedicated to all of you in this room as you go through these times in life, in their sacred messiness and in their strengthening aspects as well.
That was beautiful. That's the type of music that I listen to when I'm studying and writing my talks, and so that puts me in a very lovely place. That's, I think, one of your best. Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's light our candle this morning for the act of recovery. For what we know is that there are many people in the world that are working to recover. Recover from trauma, from war, from floods, from loss. And that process of recovery is actually part of that sacred messiness, that the idea that all things are holy, that if life is for us, all things are for us. And when they look as bleak as they sometimes do, or as destructive as they sometimes feel, those of us around, the ones that are hurting, can know the long view, the higher perspective that says this too shall pass. That where there appears to be permanent loss, there will also be rebuilding. That where things seem to be missing, there is room for something new to happen, to be born, to be created. And that we can stand with each other in consciousness and in action to continue to move in light and love, continue to move as healers in the world, as bringers of comfort. It's in that connection that we all thrive. And so where there is recovery, there is also discovery. There is also an unfolding and uncovering of the good that remains, that is yet to be born. And we are all part of that. So we have a new month and a new theme, and the theme this month is the unseen order. That is a quote from Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, which some of you may know. And the unseen order is the part of life that works beyond what we can see, right? It's the iceberg below the surface. It's the stuff that happens backstage. It's the invisible moving into the visible. We look at the world and we see this is the way things are. This is how it works. These are the political systems and the economic systems and the cultural and the ethnic and the, the food. It's all set up for us. And we forget sometimes that all of those things are of our own creation. Not me personally. I did not design capitalism. I wouldn't have known how to do that. And yet, as a culture, as humanity, we have created this world. And everything we are, everything we do, comes from what we cannot see. Comes from the land of dreams and ideas and inspiration. Comes from spirit, some might say. It comes from the creation that happens in and through and as each of us. And if we will tune into our dreams, our intuition, our imagination, our ideas, we will be inspired to create anew. We've been doing it all our lives. It's just that now we have an opportunity to be more conscious in our choices, more conscious in our direction. It also helps us to remember that what we see in front of us is no match for the power of creation inside of us. That no matter what it looks like, we will thrive, we will move forward, we will create new ways of being. And when we do that, we change what is in front of us. And so not to get bogged down by what we see, but to remember who we are. The title today is A Willow in the Wilderness, and that comes from a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote. I am a willow of the wilderness, loving the wind that bent me. My great-grandmother used to have a willow tree in her backyard. I wasn't very old when she passed, but I do remember her yard, and I do remember that tree because it was magical. Those long, thin branches hanging down with all the leaves on them. You know, for a little girl, that's a curtain, that's a palace, that's a place to hide, that's magic. Magic. And you have to realize that that willow tree that we see is only part of the organism, right? That the tree has roots. And a willow tree specifically has a taproot, which is the long, thick root that grows straight down into the ground. And off of that taproot come lateral roots that spread out maybe 10 feet wider than the canopy of the tree. So that when the wind blows, when the storms come, that tree will bend, those thin branches will give way to the wind, yet the tree is fully anchored below the surface in the soil. You know, we also weather storms because of the power that we are, because of the taproot of spiritual knowing and principle that we have. And when we are in tune with who we are at a spiritual level, then we are able to stay stable. But that one root is not enough. A single taproot does a lot for stability, but it's the lateral roots that provide the rest of the foundation and the nourishment for the tree. That is where the nutrients are absorbed, the water is absorbed. That is where the tree itself lives from. And you know, we realize that we have lateral roots also. We are part of families and communities. We are part of a spiritual system. We are connected to the planet, to each other, to life itself. And so it's important that we start with the spiritual knowing. That is our true anchor, that straight down, that deep into the earth, that depth of understanding that we are rooted in the spiritual nature of our lives. That what we know in our hearts is our true power, is our true strength. In 365, Science of Mind, Ernest Holm tells us that we have to know ourselves. That's the heart of our foundation of life. But he says the road to self-discovery often calls for the clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance, fear, superstition, and a sense of isolation that has made us feel that we are unworthy, unholy, and lost. It's the divine providence. In the divine providence of good, salvation is unnecessary, but self-discovery is essential. We don't have to save that which was lost. We merely discover that which needs to be found. So to know that the divine spirit within is the love that will guide and the intelligence that will direct me, and that power of the infinite sustains and upholds as well as direct. The unerring judgment of divine intelligence, this knowing, is what directs my faith and makes perfect and plain the way before me. The more we know our true selves, the essence of who we are, the easier it is to move forward and upward in life. He gives us an example of a tree, which I thought was very considerate of him because it's a good illustration of what I wanted to talk about this today. He said, let's take a simple lesson from nature. Perhaps where you are sitting, you can see a tree in full bloom. If so, remember that the roots through which the tree draws its life are entirely invisible, and unless the tree drew on this invisible source, it would never flourish. Our roots are in the mind of God. For Ernest Holmes, the word mind is consciousness, and God is the very essence and energy of all life, by many names. And so the consciousness of the oneness, the consciousness of love, the consciousness of the power that animates all life is where our roots are, in the invisible. We're rooted in this power. And just as the tree grows out of the ground and the invisible forces of its life turn into foliage, into blossom, and into fruit, we too take what nourishes us and turn it into flesh and bone and hair and fingernails and ideas. That somehow what happens in the physical mirrors exactly what happens in the spiritual. That when we are nourished in heart and mind, we are inspired. We are creative. We are pulled to act in the world as our unique selves because each of us has something to contribute. Each of us has a way to be of service and in service. Now, it's not just our spiritual knowing, though. It's not just the taproot. It's those lateral roots as well. It's the community that we are part of. It's the culture we were raised in that sustains us. It's the resources we have. Resource. The source again. The source, the single source that our taproot draws from, the Spirit itself, shows up in and as everything that sustains us, right? It's the tangible pieces or elements or people that empower us in our lives, that support us, that nourish us. Those are our resources. And we rely on our resources in the world in order to live in this world. We rely on Spirit to know ourselves, and we rely on who and what is in the world to sustain our physical being. One of the great examples of this are the redwood trees. Redwood trees are incredibly tall, and the depth of their root system, according to physics, is not enough to keep them standing as tall as they are. So how do they survive for hundreds of years? They survive because as the grove of trees grows up, the roots entwine themselves with every other tree in the grove, and they become one organism. Their root system, any individual tree's root system below the surface, is comprised of all of the roots of all of the trees around them. That's stable. That can create a foundation that can support great heights. And we are no different. We are no different. So what are the resources that feed your soul? Some of it's connection, right? It's relationship. It's being seen and heard and valued and loved. But you're also fed by art and music and movement. You're fed by nature. Maybe you thrive on the energy of many people around you. Maybe you thrive in the cool, calm, quiet by a stream or in the woods at the beach. Maybe you're sustained by happy little furry faces that demand your attention and lick your nose when you're not looking. Drive you crazy all the time. In love, of course. We are nourished by many things. Sometimes it's art. Sometimes it's language. It's words. It's what you hear. But we are sourced by the world just as we are the source of the world. It's a two-way street. What we are not meant to become is what other people think we should be, or what other roles we're told we ought to play. Women don't do that. Men don't do this. Oh no, honey. People from where you're from, they never, or they always. Those aren't real resources. Those are other people's ideas of what's best for you. And you know what? They don't know what's best for you. I don't know what's best for you. Only you know what's best for you. Anybody that says should, anybody that tells you to live because of the role that you carry, the label that you are, the job that you do, they're wrong. Because the true power is that taproot within, that sense of self, capital S, that idea and knowledge of what my heart calls me to do, what your gift is calling to be let out into the world. This is who we're meant to be. This is who we are to become. And we do that when we recognize the difference between what I know and what you think I should know. And we recognize the difference between what other people say are power and the sense of power that I have within. Again, Emerson's quote, "I am a willow in the wilderness, loving the wind that bent me." A willow in the wilderness. Well, we know the willow is flexible, deeply rooted and flexible. But what about the wilderness? What is that? That's the world. A wilderness is something wild and untamed. It's uncontrolled. It's maybe not tended to. Maybe it's not respected. It's uncultivated. And what does it mean to cultivate? Ernest Holmes tells us we need to cultivate our inner life. We need to cultivate attitudes of abundance and prosperity and love and peace. Cultivate is to till the soil, prepare it for seeds to be planted, rather than just allowing anything and everything to be planted. It's to be tended to. So when we cultivate the way in which we think, so that it is orderly in a way that suits us, so that we plant the seeds that we want to see come to fruition, when we're able to root ourselves in soil that is ready for growth, then we prosper, then we thrive, and everyone around us benefits. We have to know who we are. We have to know that we are rooted in what is unseen. And in order to be flexible, we have to know that we are becoming. We're not a finished product. Ernest Holmes tells us, open at the top. That means we have to be open at the top for ourselves too, not just what we can imagine for the world, but what we can imagine within. And how do you do that? How do you do that when the seeming obstacles in the world are so blatant, so uncomfortable, so sometimes ugly and hateful? We start by knowing ourselves as open and powerful. That allows us to look at the world with curiosity rather than judgment. You know, there are people on the political spectrum with views completely opposite mine. I'm sure you don't know anybody like that in your life. And you already know that an argument will get you nowhere, except all stirred up and probably hot and sweaty and mad. But to honestly approach someone and ask them, you know, I'm curious, how did this start to appeal to you? What is it about this that speaks to you? To really want to know. You don't have to be convinced. You don't have to change your mind. But we do need to connect with each other. We do need to be honestly curious. We can be present to someone. We can say, oh, that's interesting. I understand you better now. I'm not going to go there, but I understand you better. You know, it's a step. It's a step towards connection. It's a step of understanding. It's an opening outside of our own rigid beliefs. Because believe me, we have them. You feel just as strongly the way you do as other people do about theirs, right? So we are to invite connection. We are to create a space, either emotionally, spiritually, physically, where people can come together. I guarantee you that the folks in the neighborhoods of North Carolina who are distributing water or bringing food or setting up charging stations on the curb where they have a generator running are not asking anybody who comes up to them, who are you going to vote for? They're not asking anybody, who'd you marry? Hey, are you gay? Right? There's no judgment when we are being of service. There's only humanity. And we are meant to live fully from the heart, using the intelligence that we were given to create a direction and an intention so that we might move forward in love and be that light, be that energy in the world that nurtures and sustains. That's who we're called to be. Loving the wind that bent me. The wind, that's the weather of the world, right? It's not just the physical wind, it's the trauma, it's the broken relationships, it's the financial difficulties, the circumstances that come at us and to us and on us. It's the relationships that fall away, that break our hearts. The wind. It's important to remember that if we can bring love to that experience or to that memory, to that event, to our own judgment, if we bring love, it heals. If I can love the wind that bends me, I will stay flexible and I will be rooted, because there isn't anything stronger than love. That is our superpower, and it is always available to us. So no matter the stories that you hear or that you tell yourself, no matter the experiences that come upon your path or that you see in someone else's life, they're no match for that infinite power within. They're no match for love. It takes our time and our willingness and our intention and staying centered in what is true. And when we know our truth, we show up as light. We act in love. We choose our responses. We invite connection. And that's who we want to be, because those are the things that we want. That's what we want from others. The unseen order in that willow tree comes from the invisible. The ability to bend and move and grow and thrive and send forth new branches and leaves all come from that underlying foundation of lateral and taproots. So I want to close with some words from Ernest Holmes, again from 365. He says, love is the lodestone of life. The lodestone is where it all starts. Love is the lodestone of life, the great and supreme reality. It is the highest gift of heaven, the greatest good on earth, and the treasure of all our search. It's the end and aim of everything. We cannot doubt that life is love, that God or nature or the essence or the energy, the power, whatever we want to call it, we cannot doubt that it is love, because love renews and reinvigorates while hate kills. Love transmits some subtle essence of life to everything it touches. It awakens within all things an equal awareness and response. It's the greatest healing power there is, and nobody feels whole without it. But it's not meant to be confined to just a few persons, right? We know how to love the people we already love, right? But when we talk about loving the world, or loving humanity, or being love in the presence of whatever's going on, that's a bigger ask. That's a grander view of what love is. And Holmes says that love becomes more complete. It will take in a larger territory, and we will experience a greater livingness. We will feel more alive the more that we can love. There is love that flows through in and around me and all things, and it is one vast, all-enveloping essence and force, forever emanating from the living Spirit. That is who we are. That is the key to our foundation, to be able to be a willow in the world, using love to soothe what the wind blows around. Namaste. Please join me in prayer. Breathing in and breathing out. That inhalation, that inspiration, that breathing in of our awareness of spirit in this physical body that we inhabit. And breathing out that energy of life that we are out into the world. For there is only one life. It is this life, right here, right now, mine and yours, expressing in an infinitely unique number of ways as it is supposed to. And to know that right where we are, this life that beats in our own hearts, that grows those beautiful trees, sustains the oceans, breathes life into relationships and babies, and in our healing. We know that life itself is spirit expressing. And so I give a word of thanks for the blessings of life, those I recognize and those I don't. For the things that please me and the things that make me uncomfortable. For I trust and know that this energy of life can only nourish me in ways expected and unexpected. That the trust and the faith that I have in life to become ever better, for good to become ever greater, for peace to become ever more prevalent, carries me forward, inspires my actions, enlarges my ability to love. In gratitude, I see the connections that I have with others. I see the connections they have with each other. And I know that the light shines in the dark corners wherever we bring it. There's an expectation of good where love is present, and love is ever present, for it is simply another name for God. I release a word of blessing out into the world for those who are struggling, for those who are recovering, for those whose immediate moment is one of fear or loss. Surrounding them with the love and the light of those who can know the greater truth, those who can send help, those who are willing and able to be the resource, the presence of spirit in the world for them, as we are for each other, as we are for ourselves. And in this knowing, I release my word into infinite law, guided by love, into the expression of healing and wholeness and oneness that is the great truth of our being. And so it is. There's an affirmation in your bulletin. I will invite you to repeat after me so that our community online can participate. I am anchored in my spiritual knowing and so move easily in the world. The storms pass and I still thrive. And so it is. All right, let's have a little more music, please, Drac.
So this is a piece everybody's familiar with. I've played it several times. It's called Nocturne in C. And I'm playing it because it was a resource for me when I was growing up. This composer, whose name is Frédéric Chopin, I would go and I would play that music, and I believe that the current of music can carry from generation to generation, and it carries its own story, and we add to that story when we move in it. So this piece that I wrote is Nocturne in C, and it's dedicated to that composer and how all of these years he sustained me through the storms so I could be a willow.
Thank you. That was lovely. All right, so this is our time of contribution. Our acknowledgement that our prosperity is something that flows in, through, and as each of us. And so I invite you to say with me our prosperity affirmation as our ushers begin to move through the room. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. For those of you online, you can donate through our website. We also have a text to give number on little cards in the back. And we welcome your contributions of any type, your time, your talent, your treasure, your ideas, your inspiration. This is what makes us community. All right, we have a couple things going on. Our Wednesday night meditation continues online at 6:30. You can jump on the Zoom link at 6:15. It's led by practitioner Nisa Burrows, and it's every Wednesday night. Your email will have the link in it, or our website also has the link if you would like. Our next class, our Powering Your Decisions class, begins on Tuesday. That's this week. So if you've been thinking about it and you haven't decided yet, then you should take this class because it's all about making decisions. See how easy that is? That's how you know it's right for you. There is a sign-up sheet in the back, and Reverend Mary would be delighted to answer any questions you may have. It is an 8-week class meeting on Tuesday nights. Tuesdays at 6:30. All right? We have a new social giving project. We were doing personal hygiene items last month. This month we are on a roll. We are donating toilet paper. So big or little packages, 2 rolls, 20 rolls, 2 packages, 20 packages, baby wipes. They all count. So bring your toilet paper. We'll take it to the Foothill Family Shelter. It's something they can always use to support those in need in our community. We have a volunteer opportunity if you would like to join our sound team, our AV team. They do the streaming and the music and the microphones and, the sound. You know what I'm talking about, right? The guys back there on the board. They could use a little help, a little break now and again. Thank you to April for coming in today and for Sean for hanging out in the back. We'd like to have a larger team, so A, more people know how to do it, and B, nobody has to do it every single Sunday. Nobody wants to do I like to do every single Sunday, but that's my job. The rest of you I can see once a month would be really great. So if that calls to you, if you know anything about techie stuff, we would love to have you back there. And if you don't know anything about techie stuff, don't worry, none of the rest of us do either. So they will be happy to help you learn. So that could be for you. A reminder that our belly dancing continues on Wednesday nights here on campus, that on the, third Saturday of the month at 2 o'clock, we have Reiki healing right here in the chapel. And we have Village Venture coming up on October 26th, so that's just a couple Saturdays from now. And we still have some room on the sign-up sheet for folks to come hang out at the booth and smile at people and answer questions and watch the parade go by. It's a great way for us to be more visible in the community. It's funny, but not everybody knows where 509 South College Avenue is. Go figure. So when we're out on the main street, we have a banner downtown. Some of the booths have banners up. We have a banner up with our name on it. So go out there and be a smiling face with the rest of us, and we'll have a good time. It's a great way to be part of the larger community. It's really easy to think that this is Centers for Spiritual Living, this room right here and those people online. And the truth is we belong to a much larger organization. I went to a meeting this last week for Region 1, which is not our region, we're Region 2, but I went to Region 1 because that's where my friends are. And there were 50 ministers in that room. Those 50 ministers represent some 30, 40 congregations within driving distance of Encinitas. And we're not even part of that district. We're part of District Region 1, which has another 50 to 60 ministers in it. We are a conglomerate of centers all teaching ways to live your best life, all based on the teachings of Ernest Holmes, all part of the themes that are presented in the Science of Mind magazine. How many of you get Science of Mind magazine? Quite a few of you. Those of you that don't, I would encourage you to get a subscription. I would encourage you to get a subscription. It's not super expensive. You get 2 months in one issue. It's really cute. You have this month on top, and then you turn it upside down, and you have another month on the other side. And it's daily guides and articles. We have some for sale in the back. They're $10 an issue if you buy them from us. But I would really encourage you. It's, you can read the daily affirmations and there's always a little paragraph, a little story, a couple of quotes, an affirmation. And then there's great articles about how this applies in the real world. And isn't that what we all want to know, right? It's how to live our best life. So we are part of something bigger. You are always part of something bigger, even this center. All right, we have a fundraiser coming up. It's everybody's favorite. It's C's Candy. So you already know you're going to buy candy for Christmas, and you probably need to take something to whoever's hosting for Thanksgiving. And if you're the one hosting for Thanksgiving, don't you think you deserve a pound of chocolate? Yeah, see? So the order forms will be appearing shortly. You'll be able to take those around to all those people you had to buy Girl Scout cookies. That you got to buy Girl Scout cookies from. They owe you. And everybody loves chocolate. So one for them, one for you. One for them, one for you. That'll be kicking off here shortly. Just keep an eye out for that. And it makes a little money for the center, and, that's sweet. I do want to say, too, we still have our little surveys in the back. So this is asking what you might like on a Wednesday. My intention is that we grow beyond Sunday morning. We will never let go of Sunday morning. This is fun. But what else can we do? Who else can we call in? What else might appeal to people who want what we have and don't even know they want it yet? How do we get them here? Do you want to crochet and teach somebody how to do blankets? Do you want to do a book study on something that interests you? Do you want to just talk about certain things? Do you want to start a walking group? All kinds of possibilities of what we might do to stay in touch throughout the week in different ways and to invite others in. So this little survey just has a couple questions on it. Some of it's multiple choice. There's room to write down your other ideas. Be creative. Throw something out there. Let's see what sticks. And let's grow our community in new ways. All right? I think we're good, yes? All right. I don't know. Do we have a recording of Eddie back there? All right. Let's stand up, move to the side of the room, and sing a little song.
Take a look at the person next to you and say, God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, 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 we come together. In the name of love, from every walk of life, every walk of life, every creed and color, every creed and color. In kinship we unite. In honor of the God in each other, we come together, we come together, we come together.